Hey, 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 it's Deanne here, and this is video number 2 going live. I'm very excited about today. We're basically going to start moving through the digestive system so you can understand what's truly going on and where you may be having problems. So, today we're going to start in a place that you may not even realize has anything to do with your gut because it's kind of far away, but it's your mouth. The health of your mouth has so much to do with how well you digest, your microflora, your immune system, and all of that. So let's get started. So, the mouth, oftentimes we say, is the gateway to your body. And the way that is because it is the first place that a lot of things enter the body. Maybe the nose would be the other place, but the mouth, by when we breathe, by when we eat, when we're drinking, when we're just taking in air, things can get into the body. Okay. So there's a lot of different ways for us to protect our body once things move in through the mouth. And it's actually direct access to the bloodstream. And let me just explain that because we have little capillaries in our mouth around our gums. And so if you have any kind of cut, abrasion, infection, an abscess, gum disease, anything like that, then whatever's in your mouth can get into the little capillaries. Those are just really, really small blood vessels. And through those blood vessels, it then moves into the larger veins, which then go to the heart. They go to the right side of the heart, then they go out to the lungs to get oxygenated, and then come back to the left side of the heart. So, really, whatever's in the mouth is going to kind of go straight to the heart through that venous system. Okay, so when we think of mouth health, what we're really trying to do is there's a lot of good bacteria in the mouth. So we don't want to kill all the bacteria. We have good bacteria, just like in our gut, we have that microflora, which is a lot of good bacteria. But we also have some bad bacteria, and that bad bacteria can cause problems. So that is what we don't want to build up. So we want to make sure that doesn't get out of control. We want to make sure we can get rid of that. And we want to just make sure that we have a healthy teeth, healthy gums. We don't have these pockets, these abscesses, infections that can cause bacteria to get into that bloodstream. And who wants bad breath, right? That bacteria, problems with your mouth, yeast, other things that can grow in the mouth can cause some bad breath. So we definitely don't want that. Maintaining a healthy mouth is super, super important for overall health. And we'll move into this a little bit more. So, ways that an unhealthy mouth can affect your gut specifically is what we call this word dysbiosis. You've heard of microflora, microbiome. That's just the collective amount of organisms that live in our gut. Okay, so when you have dysbiosis, it means that the variety of all those organisms is off. We want to have certain types of organisms, bacteria, things at high levels because they're very protective and they help our digestive system work well. And we want to make sure that those bacteria flourish. But when you have dysbiosis, that means some of those bad bacteria, some of the ones we don't want, actually are flourishing and increasing their amount. When you have bad bacteria in the mouth, they can actually move down through the digestive system. If they can actually make it through the acidic environment in the stomach, then they are going to actually move into the intestines, and then they are going to show up. So they can actually cause issues with that microflora that we have in the gut, the colon. Inflammation. Certain bacteria can cause irritation to tissues, which is inflammation. So we definitely don't want that happening in our gut. It can also affect the immune system because 80% of the immune system is actually in our gut. So, consequences of the mouth gut imbalance. And let me just take myself off of here for a second so you can read this whole thing. So, digestive disorders. We know that an imbalance in the mouth disease, gum disease, infections, root canals, things like that have been linked to inflammatory bowel disease. That includes Crohn's and ulcerative colitis. Those are the inflammatory diseases that can happen in the intestines. Irritable bowel syndrome, or IBS, is just really an umbrella term that tells us that there's something going on in the gut. It's really leaky gut. Things aren't working well. And so you're having symptoms because of that. And then GERD, gastroesophageal reflux disease. You can also think of that as heartburn. Systemic health issues that can happen because of this is heart disease. We talked about how things from your mouth can move right to your heart, diabetes, autoimmune conditions, and so on. And then that's, of course, your overall well being, because it's essential for you to have good gut health, a strong immune system in order for you to just feel good. So have positivity, you don't have headaches or brain fog. That's that overall well being. So, ways to check the health of your mouth. These are things that you can do on your own. You can do them right now. If you have a mirror, you can open up your mouth, stick out your tongue. You want to look at the color of your tongue. You want to see if it's nice and pink. We want it to be pink. We want it to be moist. There might be a little thin coating of white, but we don't want a thick coating. We certainly don't want any growths. If you stick your tongue way out, you're actually going to be able to see part of your taste buds in the back of your mouth. And so that's going to look a little rough, and that's normal. Your gums should be pink in color. They should not be real pale. You shouldn't have a lot of bleeding. And, that's something that you might see more when you're brushing your teeth or flossing. And again, you don't want to have any growths or any kind of irritations or any kind of ulcers on your mouth. And then looking at your teeth, the color of your teeth, if there's any cracks, if your gums are receding around the area of your teeth, or if you have sensitivity to water, sensitivity to air, and then breath. Again, getting back to that, do you have that bad breath, which can also show that something is going on in the mouth. All right, so I'm going to go over several different things that you can do for improving your mouth health. You don't necessarily need to do all of these. I like to give options because some things might just jump out at you and that just feels like something that's going to work with your busy lifestyle, or maybe you already have the tool at home, or it's a perfect time of the day for you to do that. So there are going to be things on here that are going to work for you, and there might be things that you don't want to do. But best case scenario is you do all of them. Okay, so we will go through all of these: tongue scraping, oil pulling, flossing, brushing with a toothpaste that is not toxic, and using a biofilm buster. And of course, consistency is important. If you brush your teeth and floss today, or you do it for a week and then you don't do it for the next 6 months, that's certainly, of course, not going to help. So let's look at tongue scraping. I prefer a metal tongue scraper because plastic, as we know, there's a lot of unhealthy chemicals in plastic. And so you don't want to keep putting that plastic in your mouth. So I recommend purchasing a metal tongue scraper. And basically in the morning before eating or drinking, you're just going to open your mouth, stick out your tongue, and basically start in the back in your mouth and scrape forward. And you're just scraping off the layer of, you might see kind of a whitish layer, slimy layer. It's also going to take off some of the bacteria that, of course, you can't see that's already there. This can enhance your sense of taste because it can actually kind of activate your taste buds, keep them healthier, and make sure they're not being blocked by anything. It can improve your breath. It can also decrease plaque buildup if you're one of those that seems to always have a lot of plaque every time you go to the dentist. And it also is going to decrease the risk of infections in your mouth, which is super important. Oil pulling. I absolutely love oil pulling. I am one who has sensitivity because I have receding gums from when I had braces. So I do oil pulling every single day, and it decreases the amount of sensitivity to cold air and cold water. So if you're going to do both tongue scraping and oil pulling, I actually recommend going ahead and doing the tongue scraping first and then go to the oil pulling. Oil pulling, you want to do before you eat, drink, or brush your teeth. Okay. And you're going to use either coconut oil, which remember is solid at room temperature, but the minute it hits your mouth, it's going to become liquid, sesame oil, or olive oil. Those are the three easiest and ones that taste the best. You're basically going to put, if you want to start off with a teaspoon, you can certainly use a teaspoon. Later on, you may be comfortable with a tablespoon, but you're going to put the oil in your mouth and you're going to swish it around and swish it around and swish it around so it gets every little nook and cranny in your mouth. And you're basically helping detoxify the mouth and you're trying to remove bacteria, remove toxins, prevent or reduce any inflammation that might already be there, improve the health of your gums. Like I said, decrease sensitivity. And this is something that you want to do on a regular basis. I can tell a big difference if I don't do this every single day with my sensitivity. What I like to do is, when you first do it for the very first time, it's a little weird to put oil in your mouth. So you may be, if you're kind of focusing on the oil in your mouth, you may not want to keep it in there for very long. Just remember, you are going to spit it out. You're not going to swallow it. What I like to do is put it in my mouth and do something. So you kind of aren't focusing on it or the taste. So I keep it in the kitchen. I put my spoon full in my mouth and then I start to clean the kitchen and then you spit it out. Okay. So very important, spit it out. Flossing. We've been hearing about this forever. So this isn't new, but I'm going to tell you about something that my dental hygienist told me just last year. And it's so amazing and has made such a huge difference for me. I'm one of those that has not a lot of room between my teeth. So I always had to use the very thinnest floss. I had to use Glide. But Glide doesn't really get the job done. Like it may get some of the food out, but flossing isn't just about removing food particles. Flossing is, to me, mainly about decreasing the amount of plaque that's forming on your teeth. I recommend a braided floss. The braiding makes it easier to remove the plaque that's forming. So when you put it between your teeth, you're going to basically move up one side of the tooth, and I do that 2 or 3 times. Then you go up the other side of the tooth 2 or 3 times, and then you move to the next tooth. This makes an absolute huge difference. And you may not know that most dental floss out there is toxic. It is made of synthetic fragrances. It might be made of like PFAS. Those are chemicals that we know are not good for our health. So what I recommend is this one called EcoDent that you can find online at Amazon. You can buy one or you can buy several boxes. It is a little more expensive than what you find in the drugstore, but in the drugstore, you're basically buying a lot of toxins that you don't want to put into your body. And as you know, you only use a little bit of floss every day. So it actually takes a really long time to move through this floss. And you can buy replacements so you can keep the box and just buy replacements of the floss so you're not wasting material. So I love EcoDent. It's made with plant-based vegan wax and it has 11 essential oils. And we're going to talk a little bit more about the essential oils later, but I absolutely love it. Recommend flossing before you brush. For some reason, growing up, I always flossed after I brushed. That's just how I learned how to do it. But now I realize I like to move the food out, move the plaque, and then you're kind of brushing all of that stuff away. Moving into toothpaste. Now, this can be a big controversial topic. Most people out there probably just pick up the toothpaste that's at the drugstore, Crest, Colgate. I don't even know if AIM is still around, but lots of different toothpaste that have fluoride in them. You can go online and look a lot about fluoride. Most of us, have fluoride in the public water system because someone decided that we all needed fluoride and that was going to decrease the amount of cavities that kids get, which as we know, it doesn't. So what the big worry is how much fluoride we're actually ingesting. So if you're always drinking water from the tap, you're getting a lot of fluoride. Then there's also fluoride in foods, there's fluoride in almost all dental products, there's fluoride in pesticides, Teflon pans if you use those, medications have fluoride. And so it can accumulate in our pineal gland. And this gland is what produces melatonin. And melatonin is what increases at night to get our bodies ready for bed. So we definitely don't want a bunch of junk in that gland so it can't work. Because if you're not producing enough melatonin, you're not going to be able to ready your body for bed, and it's going to give you problems with insomnia. And also, let's see other things that it can do. There's lots of research behind the fact that it can cause like spotting on your teeth or mottling, mainly in kids. It can cross the blood-brain barrier. We call it the BBB, blood-brain barrier. And so that means that that toxin is going straight into your brain and affecting the cells in your brain. So through research, we've found that too much fluoride can increase the risk of bone fractures. Everybody thinks it's actually going to help, but it actually has been found to increase breaking of bones. It's linked to hypothyroidism, where your thyroid gland isn't making enough thyroid hormone. Some studies even say that you shouldn't use fluoride during pregnancy because it's going to affect the nervous system of the child. And then some people say it's associated with diabetes. So, in my opinion, I don't want to put more fluoride in my body that I don't need. So, I choose to use a toothpaste without fluoride. So, here are a few that are found in lots of different places. So, if you go to a healthier drugstore, I would say something like Whole Foods or Sprouts, Lazy Acres, whatever is close by for you. You can find David's. That's what I'm using right now. I absolutely love it. I've used With My and I've used Hello, and I love all three of those. I've actually also used Dr. Bronner's that I liked, and Dental Sidon. We'll talk about Dental Sidon in a little bit. So these are just some options for you. You can get most of these at Amazon.com. You can certainly just put them in a Google search and you'll be able to find where you can find them. So you may want to go ahead and take a screenshot of this so you can remember these. Basically, they're all found in the Environmental Working Group page. If you don't know what that is a wonderful organization that does testing on different products, foods, to find out what chemicals are in what products and what foods. So if you go to ewg.org, you can look at all of your makeup, you can look at sunscreens. They're the ones that put out Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen every year. A really wonderful link to know. So now I want to talk about biofilms. Biofilms are a protective layer that certain bacteria can produce. Think about like a really thick, strong webbing that can be made over the top of a bacteria so it can hide behind it. So antibiotics can't get to it. So this is what happens in all parts of our body. This happens in our mouth, it happens in our gut. It can really happen most places, and that's one of the reasons why we, have antibiotics out there that don't work anymore. So this protective barrier works really, really well. And so then that keeps those bad bacteria in the mouth. So even if you're doing these things that we've talked about, if they're hidden behind this biofilm, you can't really get to them. These bad bacteria, they're the ones that can cause gum disease, they can cause tooth decay, they can cause infections, abscesses. So of course we don't want them around. Okay. So flossing, brushing, antibiotics are not going to kill these bacteria. So there are products out there that we call biofilm busters. They have some kind of essential oil, some kind of product in them that can help break through these protective barriers so you can actually kill that bacteria. One that I love so much is called Biocidin. It's a company that makes products. They make dental sidin, they make supplements, they make mouth rinses, gels, there's a throat spray, And it's basically a blend of 18 essential oils and botanical extracts that can basically get through these biofilms. So I absolutely love these. You can find them on Amazon. I have them in my dispensary. So if you want to get in touch with me, if you're interested in any of them, I can certainly tell you more about them. The coconut oil can also help with killing some of these biofilms. So oil pulling is important. Xylitol is in many toothpastes, it's in mint. It is also found to be able to kill some biofilms. We already talked about essential oils, but some of the specific ones are peppermint, clove, eucalyptus, and then even hydrogen peroxide. So, in a lot of the toothpastes that don't have fluoride in them, you'll find that they might have hydrogen peroxide. Most of them have xylitol. They often have some kind of essential oil in them. All right. So, a few more things that, of course, you've already heard about these. So, I can't not include these in this talk about mouth health. Regular dental checkups, cleanings, super, super important. I recommend a biologic dentist. You can just go on and Google biologic dentists. There's a couple of associations that have all the dentists listed. These dentists are not going to use fluoride. They are going to use healthier things. They're not going to use silver fillings that we know have mercury in them that cause issues. So, a biologic dentist is a wonderful dentist to see on a regular basis. Eating a well balanced diet, because, of course, all that good microflora in our gut, we feed them with what we eat. So, vegetables, nuts, seeds, fresh herbs, protein, fruits, that's what we should be eating. Not the packaged food, not the ice cream, not the sugar, not the things that aren't really food. Avoiding sugar, sugary foods, sugar drinks. They definitely can promote bad bacterial growth. They can promote yeast. If you stick out your tongue and you have a very thick layer of white on your tongue and you can't scrape it off, that means you have yeast. And just staying hydrated so your mouth can produce saliva. That saliva in our mouth cleans our teeth. It removes food particles. It can remove bacteria. So it's super important to have that in our mouths. So that is the end of today's talk, all about mouth health and how mouth health is so connected to gut health and overall body health. So if you have any questions, I would love for you to comment. And then you can always DM me if you have any questions. I'm going to be doing these lives every week. We're going to move down a little bit further. So not next week because it's July 4th and no one's going to be around for July 4th. But the following week, we're going to move into the esophagus. So we're going to talk about reflux, heartburn, all of those things all those questions I get all the time. Then we're going to move into the stomach. And we're going to slowly move through the digestive system, talking about basically how things work, how we want things to function normally, and then what happens when they're not functioning normally, what side effects those give you, and then what you can do about it. So I hope you're finding that this is helpful. If you are like, yes, I love this and I want to learn more, you can go to my health corner. And I'll leave that link underneath this video. It has lots of different videos. You can also go to my YouTube channel, subscribe there, and there's lots of videos there. All right, I hope you have a wonderful day, wonderful weekend, and a wonderful July 4th. Bye-bye.